go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Okay. So I made a presentation with slides about everything that I had learned. So I'm going to share my screen.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about today what I have learned all through the coding class. And my full name is Dominion Insididay Moses. What I learned in my coding class. In this presentation, I will explain the steps I learned while building a simple website project using Visual Studio Code, also known as VS Code. This project was designed as a cafe menu, but it is more than just typing in some words. It introduced me to the process of organizing files and folders, writing HTML to build the structure of a web page, and using CSS to make everything look visually appealing. Through this project, I discover how HTML and CSS works together. HTML acts as a skeleton that holds the content, while CSS is like the decoration that makes it attractive and professional. Each part of the project taught me something new, from linking images into my code to adjusting fonts, colors, and layouts so the page looks more like a real menu rather than just plain text. Organizing files and getting started. The very first step in creating our website was to set up the project correctly and organize the files and folders. We started by creating a main folder named As a Projects. Inside this folder, we built smaller subfolders and files that we would need for our website. One important subfolder we created was for storing pictures. Depending on preference, it could be called something like pics, pictures, or foodie, or sometimes even food. This folder was specifically meant to hold all the images we wanted to use our web page, such as coffee beans, desserts, or background pictures. Alongside that folder, we created two main files in the root of the project. The first one, was index.html, which is the main HTML file where the actual content of the site goes. Our second one is cafe.css, which is the CSS file responsible for the colors, fonts, layout, and overall design. This organization step was the beginning of the whole project and taught me that keeping your files structured from the start makes the entire coding process easier. Starting with HTML structure. Once the folders were ready, we began building the foundation of our web page using HTML. The very first line in the HTML file was a doc-type declaration, which tells the browser that we are working with HTML. After that, we updated the title of the page so the tab displayed Cafe Menu, which matched the project theme. The next step was to begin organizing the content using tags and classes. We created a clear hidden class menu, which would act as a container for all our content. Inside that, we used main tags to hold the central sections of the page. Within the first main, we placed an H1 heading to display the name of the cafe. Below that, we created a paragraph with the classes with the class established, where we added the text established in 2025. This gave the cafe menu a realistic introduction, showing both the name and the founding year. After the introduction, we began adding sections for the actual menu items. For example, we made a section and placed in H2 heading with the word coffee Under that, each menu item was organized inside an article with a class item, which included two paragraphs, one for flavor or name of the drink, and one for the price. This structure was repeated for each menu item, helping the content stay neat and consistent. Completing the page layout. At the bottom of the HTML file, we added extra details to complete the web page. This included an HR line to divide the menu items from the footer and then a footer tag that held useful information. Inside the footer, we placed a link to a website using the A tag, which included attributes to open the page in a new tab. For example, the Sonrisas Academy website is what we put with a visit our website. So when they clicked on it, they would know that it was a website. We also added a fake address like 96 Emerald Drive, which I did find out later was real, but it isn't mine, just to make it look more authentic. The key lesson here was that the HTML is not about text, it's about structure and organization. Each element had a specific role, whether it was headings, sections, articles, or links. Learning how these pieces fit together gave me a much clearer idea of how websites are built from the ground up. Adding style with CSS. After setting up the structure in HTML, we moved on to CSS, which is where the design and creativity came in. The first exciting step was learning how to add a background image. To do this, we placed an image into the folder about pictures we created, such as coffee beans, and named it something simple like beans.jpg. In the CSS file, we use the code background image URL dot slash pics slash beans.jpg. This told the browser to look in the folder and display the picture as the page's background. Beyond images, CSS gave us control over the text and layout. We centered the headings and paragraphs, chose a serif font for a classic look, and wrapped everything inside the menu box. This menu box was centered around the text and a width that automatically adjusted if the screen was smaller. It meant the page was not only styled nicely, but also worked on different screen sizes. But the color depends on the background you chose. Working with images in HTML and CSS. Another important skill I learned was how to add style images on my web page. First, I downloaded images that I wanted to use and placed them into my foodie folder, which I had already created inside my main project folder. This kept everything organized and made it easy to link the images in my code. To display an image, I use the img tag in my HTML file. For example, img src.3d dine.webp style with 300 pixels height auto. This line tells the browser to look inside the folder for the file called dine.web. The alt attribute gives the image a description which is useful for accessibility, and the style controls its width and height, setting the width to 300 pixels and the height to auto. Keeps the image looking good without stretching it. In addition to HTML, I use CSS to style all the images in a neat way. Here's a CSS code I wrote. ing display block margin auto margin top minus 25 pixels is what we did together. This made each image centered on the page by using margin auto and the margin top minus 25 pixels made it slightly upward for an alignment combining HTML and CSS. I was able to display my cafe images in a clean and professional way, making the website look more attractive and realistic. Making the website look professional, we went further with CSS by styling specific elements to give the website a professional cafe feel. The headings were given different font sizes. Each one was set at 40 pixels to stand out as much as the main title, while H2 was set at 30 pixels for the section headings. The established text was styled in italics, adding a nice finishing touch. For the menu items themselves, we learned how to align content. The food names given the class flavor were aligned to the left, while the prices under the class price were aligned to the right. To keep them on the same line, we used display inline block, which was an important trick for formatting menus easily. The footer was also styled with smaller text at around 15 pixels, making it less bold than the main content. Finally, we added interactive styles to the links. Links appeared black normally, turned purple once visited, changed red when hovered over, and became emerald green when clicked. This small detail made the page interactive and fun, and it showed how CSS can change the look of a page depending on how the user interacts with it. Bringing everything together. By combining HTML and CSS, we transformed a plain text page into something that looks like a real cafe menu. The HTML gave the website its structure, headings, sections, articles, and footer. The CSS added the creative side, the background image, fonts, colors, and interactive features. Each step showed me how important both parts are because one without the other would leave the page unfinished. In the end, the project not only helped me understand the basics of web development, but also gave me confidence in writing and editing code. I now know how to organize files, link images, style pages, and make layouts look clean and professional. What started as a simple project became a full introduction to how websites are actually made, and I feel ready to build even more advanced pages in the future. What I learned overall. This project showed me something that even a simple web page requires many small details working together. From creating headlines and sections to linking images to adjusting how items are aligned and styled. I realized that every tag and every line of code has a purpose. Most importantly, I learned how rewarding it feels to see my code turn into something real on the screen. What started as plain text in VS Code became a professional looking cafe menu that I built myself. This experience gave me confidence in my coding skills and inspired me to keep learning and creating more websites in the future. Through this cafe menu project, I learned more than just how to type code into a computer. I learned the importance of staying organized with folders and files, since a well-structured project makes coding easier and less confusing. I discovered how HTML provides the foundation of a website by giving it structure, and CSS provides the style, colors, fonts, and layouts. In the end, thank you for these are the links to my things that I've made. So then this is the cafe menu that we did together. And then this is the um the website that I decided to make all about African tradition. So it's all based on our culture. And then the last one is all about rices and desserts and drinks and children meals, making everyone feel included from places from all around the world. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well done, Dominion. This